allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Ackermite, roll call.
Mr. Trombley?
Yep.
Dr. Krebs?
Here.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Here.
Mr. Stahl?
Present.
Mrs. Reed?
Here. All right. That will take us to the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move. Support.
Moved by Mr. Trombley and supported by Mr. Stahl. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes 5-0. And Dr. Gray?
My pleasure tonight, to have Mary Bean come on up. We have a special group with us tonight who have done some pretty amazing things. So Mary, take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. Hi, my name is Mary Bean, and I'm a third grade teacher at Hilton Elementary School. But I'm here in a different capacity this evening.
That's Emma too.
As
Welcome, Emma.
first grader at Hilton Elementary School. My father was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's many years ago, and a few years ago we had to make the tough decision for his well-being and safety to transition him to a medical facility, a memory care facility, and we found a wonderful place in Ypsilanti, Michigan called Gilbert Residence. And one of the things we loved about it when we went to go visit is how much green space there were for the patients there. And in his life, he spent many years in his garden, and we loved the fact that he would be able to have so much time outdoors. This winter, the gardener's wife became ill, and the gardens quickly, as we all know from our homes, fell apart. But Gilbert Residence didn't want to replace the gardener and he lose his job during this tough time. So things just have been growing, and it's been sort of falling apart. And we've done what we can, but we take my dad out every time we go, and he would say things like, I don't know how I can keep up with this. I don't know how. It was definitely hard on him. And I'm very grateful because Girl Scout Troop, Scranton Girl Scout Troop, was looking for ways to do some additional community service. And on Sunday, September 8th, all of them came to Gilbert Residence in Ypsilanti, which is not close by, and spent the afternoon cleaning all of the courtyards. It was an incredible amount of work. So Girl Scout Troop 40531, which includes Elizabeth Hedgecock, Isabel McCullough, Elliot Gay, Caitlin Vanderwalker, Elizabeth Mullen, Kelsey Dunn, Olivia Valdez, Vivian Oswandel, Cadence Oswandel, Lucinda Oswandel, Mason Gay, Nathan Dunn were the siblings that attended, and parents Joel Mullen, Christina McIntosh, Andrea McCullough, Melissa Gay, Janet Dunn, and Renee Oswandel. They all came, so I am grateful to them and thankful to you for presenting them with their shining star tonight. Thank you.
Certificates coming. We just need the board president's signature. He's not here tonight, so I'll deliver him to you and you can get him.
Perfect. I would love to.
Thanks for being here, and don't feel like you have to stay either. So.
Okay. I'll leave one representative from the family.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It still looks good. And they all want on it.
That will take us to call to the public. If there's anyone that would like to address the board, we welcome you to come up to the podium. And we'd ask that you identify yourself and provide your address and keep your comments to 3 minutes, please. All right, seeing none, that will take us to the superintendent's report.
Yeah, a couple of exciting ones tonight. First, we have Jeff Strauss from Manicasteris here, our lead auditor, has been for several years now, and he's here to share the good news of our audit with you. And as I put in my update to you, a couple of milestones that we didn't know if they were possible or not, and I'm excited to hear him present. So Jeff, take it away.
Well, thank you very much. I've got a few things I do want to chat about, but Greg's absolutely right. I mean, there's been, I don't want to really say a roller coaster, but we saw some down years. It's been a while now, and it was a challenge to figure out what the district was going to do to really get that general fund balance where we wanted it to be. And we'll go into it in more detail, but tonight really is that night. I want to start off just by saying we did our audit. We look at the numbers. We also look at controls. If you go through the financial statement, you'll see on pages 3 and 4, this is where we give our audit opinion. And within that audit opinion, you will see that we did issue a clean audit opinion on numbers. That doesn't include just looking at numbers. We did look at the controls and compliance related to our single audit and really what we did during the entire course of our audit. Clean opinion, unmodified opinion is exactly what you want to look at. You can see that on the top of page 5. I don't want to touch too much on the management discussion and analysis, but that starts on page 7. But some of what Greg was just talking about really is explained at the very top of page 7. Some of what you can see there is we did have governmental funds within, really the funds as a whole were up 5.2% to $100 million compared to $96 million in the previous year, and $3 million of that was all general fund. And the program that really forces that number to go up year after year is the shared service program. If you want to look at the bottom bullet point of the net financial highlights, you'll see where your student count has went. We were at 8,047 last year, up to 8,163 in the current year, and that is an increase of 116 students over the previous year. The reason why this is such a big deal is we know that the MDE is kind of cracked down a little bit on the shared service program. And by being on the forefront of that, really Brighton was the trailblazer in really driving that as a real revenue stream for a district. The only other district that I think really competes with Brighton is Berkeley as far as what's going on really with this shared service program. And Greg had mentioned, I've been working on this audit for a number of years here, and I remember when we first had to go to the state of Michigan, Department of Education, and really say, look, we're in a big deficit. I mean, a huge deficit. We weren't quite in the $8 million deficit range, but we were in a situation that looked pretty dire. And, we presented this model to the Department of Education, and flat out, they did not believe that this was going to be a viable source to get out of that deficit. And we're sitting here, and I'll go through it in a little more detail when we look at the general fund budget, but not only did it work, but Brighton is one of the financial healthiest districts probably in the entire state, definitely the one high audit. When you look at the full accrual level statement of net position, there were big changes on what they were doing to measure the net pension liability, net OPEB liability, and most districts are looking at their net position go even more into a deficit, but Brighton actually saw that number go down a little bit this year. And again, that's all attributable to this program that really, just blows my mind to this day that we had people here with the foresight that could make this into a model that would work and really get the district out of the situation they were from a negative fund balance, not just a negative fund balance, but a very large negative fund balance with no real end in sight. I do want to touch base on page 10 real quick, just because this shows a little bit of what I'm explaining. you look at the top of page 10, you can see we have total net position of $151 million negative deficit at the full accrual level. That's a huge number, but it's all really attributable to the net pension and net OPEB liability. And you can see on the net pension liability, that number went up about $20 million from last year. Again, I think ORS is still trying to figure out what the right rate of return actuarial numbers to really consider when they're putting their reports together. But most ISDs, districts that I'm looking at, are seeing that net position number go into a further deficit. And we actually see, you can see at the bottom of page 10, we actually reduced that deficit by about $500,000. So that's huge. And the page that I'd like to look at more so than really any page in this entire financial statement is on page 13. For a while, it was a really ugly graph, but now as you look at it, you can see what the change is. And not only are we back to where we were at the high point prior to the deficit, but we far surpassed that from both a student count and an overall general fund balance number. You can see back in 2013, which really is not that long ago, we were sitting at about 6,000 students enrolled. Wasn't really factoring in anything for shared service at that point, and that number jumped all the way up to 8,163 as of 2019. Projected to go up more in the 1920 year. Looking at the graph below, you can see we were all the way down in 2013 to an $8.5 million general fund negative fund balance. And when you look at 2019, we were at $8,066,371 with the 2019-20 budget projected to add just shy of another $1 million to that. So those are huge numbers for the district, and I mean really unprecedented when you would have sat back in 2012-13 and even tried to predict where the district would be. The other huge factor in this is one of the goals when we sat down at that point was, can we get to a fund balance of 10% in the general fund? 2019 is that year where we finally got to 10.3% within the general fund, which is another huge kudos to the district. I see most districts nowadays really struggling to get, much below or much above even a 5%. And you see a lot that are in that early warning legislation really struggling to add to their fund balance. But there's a model here now that is really a proven track record to keep adding to fund balance in the general fund even in future years. Whether that means money can be put into capital project fund, transfer, there's so many things you can now do with that money that you wouldn't have had flexibility to do with in the past. So, huge kudos to Superintendent Gray. I know Dr. Gistinger isn't here tonight. I know that it was really their brainchild, and it's been a real pleasure for me to really see that from start to end to get to this point. So, very impressed, and you guys should be very proud to be able to say that that's Brighton that was able to do that. The page that I really want you to look at now is going to be really the page that's probably most important to you. But page 57, this gives us our budget to actual. So really pretty tight budgeting. We do have about, just shy of an $80 million revenue district. So we budgeted for a final budget of about $77,949,000. Came in at $77,955,000. So very tight budget on the revenue side of things. On the expenditure side of things, we budgeted for about $76 million in revenue and came in at just shy of $75 million. Still within about 2.5% on an $80 million revenue budget. So really where you want to see that coming in at. The Michigan Department of Ed really doesn't like to see expenditures coming in higher than what you budgeted for, so we're right in line with where we really want to see. But you can see on this page, we were starting the year off at $5 million in the general fund balance, and we were able to add $3,032,692 to the general fund, which left us with $8,066,000 at the general fund at the end of the 2019 year. So that gets us to our just over 10% number, and just huge threshold that we set, and you guys were able to meet. So, just phenomenal. We did audit as part of the work that we were required to do. We did audit the child nutrition cluster. You guys do receive federal funding. Again, there were no compliance issues or any control issues related to the test and lab program. So again, another, just real kudos to the job that your finance department here is doing. So again, we appreciate coming out here and doing the work, and it makes our job a lot easier when the work that's being done is top notch like it is out here. I got two other pieces that I just really want to go over with you before I kind of wrap up here. But we have a letter, and then we have the supplement. I'll touch base on both. The letter, this is what we call a governance letter. We have engagement letters really to start the whole process. The governance letter, this is what we really issue to the board once we finalize the audit. And it really states what we're required to do as part of our audit. And if any issues were to come up, they would pop up within this letter. So the main area where you're going to see some of those items would be under the significant audit findings. That's just a heading. There were no significant audit findings. But going through, we do identify certain estimates, but the largest estimates really be in that net pension and that net OPEB liability. It's really actuarial driven. They use reasonable information when they're coming up with their reports, but as you can see, they're still trying to get that right size because they modified it again this year. Certain estimates related to fixed assets and compensated absences are also included within the financial statements. Point two, we didn't have any difficulties performing the audit. There were no corrected or uncorrected misstatements, and we didn't encounter any difficulties with management as we worked through our audit. So all in all, a very clean letter as well from that standpoint. And then moving on to the supplement, just really a couple of key items that I really want you to be aware of as a board. I worked with Maria a lot this past year to really figure out what we were going to do with GASB 84, and it was a big deal. We're well aware that we have accounts that were previously really included as student accounts. That might be the class of 2020, the theater club might have accounts that the district's handling. What became a little bit of an issue there was GASB 84 came out a few years ago and was finally effective for the 1920 year. What that's really trying to identify is where control of those assets lies, and for the most part, we are now saying, yes, the district, whether it's Brighton or any other district, has quite a bit of control over how that money is either going to be spent, whether it's a teacher making that decision, principal, other administrator, or they have control on how the revenue is being generated, whether it's setting prices on tickets or something of that nature. So GASB 84 is really pulling those funds into a special revenue fund or within the general fund. And again, we've worked through this, so this isn't a big issue. It's just something to be aware of from a board standpoint, because once those funds are pulled into the fund, like out of a fiduciary account and into a special revenue or the general fund, it now is considered governmental funds, and now it needs to actually be considered how you're going to spend that fund, because it is public monies rather than previously being in these fiduciary accounts. So it's a little more stringent on how you can spend that money. The largest one, and I wish I had a clear-cut answer for you on it, is whether or not scholarships are being handed out. The short answer is they probably qualify as gifts, and gifts aren't allowed under spending the public monies. So just something to be aware of. Maybe need to look at certain board policies and make sure those monies that were previously under fiduciary accounts are being spent appropriately. So I told most of my districts, some want to be aggressive with it. You can be aggressive, but you don't want to be that first district that ends up in the newspaper saying you're not spending public money appropriately either. So it's a pretty fine line that some of these districts want to walk if they want to continue to spend the money exactly how they always have. So that's really what's getting after in points 1 and 2 on the supplement. Sure. Oh, sorry. Thought you had a question. The other one is we do have a lease standard coming down the road. So So like GASB 84, that we're implementing for the 1920 year, and in 2021, we are going to have to look into leases a little bit more. Right now, those leases are required to be disclosed at the footnote level, but if you have building leases, copier leases, depending on materiality, they are going to show up on the statement of net position at the full accrual level. But we'll look at that in a couple of years. And then the final piece I have on the back there is we did, as part of your federal single audit compliance audit that we perform, we looked at really for child nutrition about the same thing that we always looked at, that there was a change in the requirements there. So it didn't change too much as far as what we need to audit, but the federal government has now mandated each, whether it's Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Agriculture, you can only identify 6 items that they want tested as part of the compliance audit. The intent there is to kind of help on the financial department side of things, what they need to prepare to get ready for an audit. They still need to comply with every single one of those compliance requirements, but as far as our audit goes, we might look at slightly less. And the main reason for that being a lot of those items, whether it's reporting, whether it's eligibility, are being tested at multiple levels, and they're trying to reduce the redundancy of that testing. So just bring that to your attention too. And I do want to close just by saying, this is a phenomenal district. I mean, they've done a great job getting you where you are at from a financial standpoint. And I'd be amiss a little bit if I didn't actually give them a hand for how much work that has went in over the past, 6 years to get where you are and really to be in a state where Brighton's a viable district, where it wasn't sure what was going to happen with it 6, 7 years ago. So I'd like everyone to join me and just give them a hand for the hard work that they really did. But I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
So, a couple of things.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong,
Sure.
but could you explain fund equity a little bit? Because I believe a lot of people, when we talk fund equity, they think that's cash in the bank.
It's not cash. No, absolutely is not cash. If you want to look at the financials, there's a huge receivable sitting in there, but, it certainly isn't cash. The biggest part is you have your liabilities, you have your cash in the bank, and it's the offset of that number. And it's not all unrestricted money either. So it doesn't mean that this is a spending spree, and it would be a huge mistake to go on a huge spending spree and reduce the fund equity that you've really built up into the general fund. 10%'s a nice number, but I don't even know that that should be the end goal of where you're at.
Well, and that was my second
Yes.
question. So what do you recommend that be? Because
Well,
I know you've stated in the past, and I just want to see if you're still...
I'd say 15% at this point.
There you
is a
go.
good
Okay,
number.
that's
You know,
what I remember you saying.
There was the golden days when you saw a lot of districts sitting with about 20%. I don't see any districts sitting with 20% anymore. It's just not viable. We all know the state. The budget's in flux right now for the state of Michigan. We saw a slight increase in the foundation allowance for student count revenue. It goes up about $130. Right now, I wouldn't anticipate it going up much of anything until I see what that budget's going to be, but I think most districts are trying to be conservative with where that foundation allowance is going to be this year. But again, you can go through $8 million pretty dang quickly if you want and ruin the hard work that really has been put, the foundation that's been laid.
That was evident a few years ago.
It was, absolutely. It's easy to get ahead of yourselves, but 10% shouldn't be the end goal. That being said, it is a very nice spot to be, and I do see a lot of districts below that 10% number. But it doesn't take long to get back to that 5%, and the state's going to be sending letters, early warning type legislation letters saying, all right, we thought you had this under control, and now you're back into a 5% situation. So again, it shouldn't be the end goal. 15% I think is a very good number to try to set your focus on and try to get there. But yeah, I by no means think this is the end of the road and where you want to be.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
As always, Jeff, thank you. I think one other person that we didn't mention, Marcus does a lot of work
Yes.
with the audit. He does a lot of the boots on the ground work, so great job, Marcus, as always.
I didn't even see him sneaking in back here. No, absolutely. Nick Caceres from our office has been working on the audit for a number of years as well, and Marcus does a lot of the heavy lifting getting ready for the audit. So appreciate everything you guys do for us. It makes our life easy, and you guys are really seeing the benefits of all of this right now. So
Thanks, Jeff.
thank you.
We'll see you next year.
Yep.
I told Mike to take credit for it all. Put it right there, 10%. He says that.
That's a nice little bar for him to meet.
Yeah. 10 is the new 0. Next, we have Ms. Mosier. She's going to talk a little bit about our curriculum update and our MSTEP story. So, Liz?
I know, it's amazing. Okay, so a little bit, I'm just going to go over our results and updates. The letters went home, I think, Friday to families, so those should be arriving hopefully soon for you to see individual student reports. And for us, I'm just going to review a little bit about MSTEP and the state assessments and what they are. So MSTEP is given grades 3 through 8 and 11. And then it talks about it being summative, so we're talking about an instructional period the whole year. And they're tested, it's online, computer adapted online test. It measures state standards, not all of them obviously, but selected amount. It's based off proficiency. There's a growth rank, percentile ranking there. English arts is grades 3 through 7. Math is grades 3 through 7. Social studies, grades 5 and 8. You do not see science because they piloted and field tested the new science out this year, last year. So this year will be the first year that science will be added to that. And then at really the secondary level, we have the PSAT, SAT, and ACT. Again, it's summative. Difference is it's paper and pencil now. It is the state standards as well. It's measured proficiency only. There's not a growth aspect to that. PSAT 8-9, ELA and math replaced the MSTEP. So 8th grade is now part of our accountability. It was not part of, MSTEP was originally, but now part of our accountability for the district is PSAT 8. PSAT 9 and 10 are given, but they are not part of our accountability yet. And then SAT, the ACT work keys, and then MSTEP for 11th grade. So just a reminder, those are the state assessments we're talking about and the results of. So the first set is grades 3 and 4, and just a state and county comparison and where we're at. So anything in the green is where we're above both the county and state. Anything that you'll see in the yellow, and anything with an asterisk is where we were the highest in the county. So with the other districts within the county, that's where we scored above them as well. So you can take a second and look at that. Really point out, you can see 4th grade really kind of highlights a lot there. 5th and 6th, you can see those results there as well. You can see obviously the yellow standing out for just above the state. In the social studies, if you look at the state results in social studies, I'm not shocked by this, you'll see that 17% are proficient in the social studies as it is, and we'll talk about that in a minute. There's the LESA, and then there we are. And then again in 6th grade though, you can see it kind of shine again. So a lot of that might deal with the transitions for our students, right? So number 5, 6 when they come in a new environment. And then 7, 8. So remember 8th grade is the PSAT. So that's not MSTEP scores for them. The social studies is MSTEP, but the 8th grade is the PSAT results. So you can see that from our ELA as well. So very well, I think we do a great job. Especially remember this is the proficiency part of it. What I'm 9, 10, and 11. So again, you can see the results, especially 11th grade for the SAT, highest in the county. Again, so nice to see that. 9 and 10, remember, is not an accountability test, but it is given. Most of the districts would give that as a test, so we can see those results as well. So doing very well. So proficiency is one thing. You can see that we're at 78%, 79%, 50% proficient, well above what the county and state are. So one thing in this fun chart is a growth versus proficiency. So this is specifically for 4th grade ELA. So this is watching students from 3rd grade and then how they did in 4th grade. The way that growth works for the state is they percentile rank students, okay? So growth isn't just about a student getting a better score, they are ranked by a percentile. So what this chart is showing you is on the proficiency is the 1 through 4. 1 is being not proficient, 4 is mastery or advanced proficient. And on the left-hand side, you see the growth of 1, 2, 3. So state growth is 0 to 29% means no growth in that percentile. 30 to 69th percentile is growth. And then above growth, above average growth is 70 percentile and higher. So what you kind of see, the size of the bubble represents the number of students that would be in that category. So just looking at this, you can see students who are scoring high on the M-STEP in a 4, they're also growing the most in our district, just by the size of the bubble. So anything in the red is probably an area of concern, because the bigger that bubble is, the less they're growing, and especially if they're down in the lower levels. You see that, the 1, 2. So anything on that 1, that line 1 going across is probably an area that we want to work on. That's the individual needs of students that we try to get to. So really, in our 4th grade, this actually isn't so bad if you really look at the number of students we're talking about. It's about 20% fall in this bottom part. Not great, but that's where the conversation is that we try to have versus just proficiency. If we switch over to math, so this is 7th grade math, so this would be 6th to 7th grade. You can see the chart looks a little different. So here we have a lot more in that bottom part where they're just not growing. So they're not moving on that percentile rank. So they're falling between that 0 and 29th percentile. I think personally the state is lenient, giving us 30 to 69th percentile. I would say we'd want to be 50th percentile or higher. We want all of our students to be above 50th percentile. So again, just another graph to kind of show us that. So area that we want to work on is really what we call those the bubble kids, right? They're in that middle, and they're not really moving where we'd like them to. So they're proficient, they're doing okay, but they could possibly be doing better. So it would be more about individualizing some instruction there. So what's next for us? So obviously we have other assessments we give. The NWA is one that helps measure our growth and helps predict a little bit of how students will do on the M-STEP. We also help personalize some instruction through that. Multi does a great job at that with their staff and working in goal setting with students specifically around that. We use DIBELS assessments, that's at our elementary level, so all students are looking at literacy specifically to identify needs, whether it's enrichment or intervention support. And then our counter assessments are another area that we continue to look at. Continuing with the data, we look at data dig. So specifically we look at trend data, like how are we doing over time within a grade level? Are we moving? Are we staying the same? Do we see a dip? So more than likely we stay the same in most areas. We don't jump up real high, we don't fall real low. We look at comparison districts. So Heartland is a comparison district for us. They're in our county, which is nice, but there's other comparison districts. There's one in Okemos, Elaine is another. There's one on the west side. When I say that, the structure is the same, the demographics are the same, things like that that would be equivalent to us. And then also in October, we're doing a data meeting, which will go more in depth with the district, with the building principals and staff around their specific data. In curriculum and instruction, we are relaunching our units of study at ELA. That's a lot of the focus this year. We have an advisory group of teachers. I think there's just over 30 teachers, K-8, who are going through this process. It's our Readers and Writers Workshop. And they have done professional development, and there's monthly coaching support and after-school sessions that they attend. Social studies, I said, kind of coming back to that. New standards have been officially adopted now. So we'll start reviewing and planning and working on that. At the same time, we knew it was coming, so the instructional practice or the framework for teaching social studies, we've already started some of that work. Dr. Hiller at Scranton has been part of that work and working with her social studies team and along with the high school. So that's work that we've kind of been prepping for. In science, obviously, we continue to work on the standards. The high school is probably one area where we're starting to focus more on those pieces. We have programming already at the elementary and, well, say K-8. Instructional practices still in science, that modeling and that phenomena-based, and then we still do coaching and support there. And then literacy is our other part. The literacy essential practices is something big and it's been rolled out. Most, let me double check it. I would say all of our elementary, and really our elementary principals, including Ann Maltby, they're all trained in this, and then a lot of work has been done with their staff. So it's about those practices, so small group, vocabulary, things like that that are essential to help students, ideally, in literacy. And that affects the Read by Grade 3 law, which we know is out there. So this will be the first year that the Read by Grade 3 law will actually take effect for students. So we're obviously watching that closely. And obviously the RTI and WIN time is one way that we work within that, and then the professional development. So we've worked hard at offering more supports to teachers to support the Tier 1 actual instruction in a classroom than just the intervention to fix a kid and move them back. So that's where our time has been so far. That's what I got. How about some questions?
So back to your, the earlier slides where you talked about the county and the state.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you show the graph that would show the schools that we actually benchmark against? Because to me, yeah, I think, would you mention Howell or somebody is part of
Hartland.
Or Heartland. But there's a lot of other ones. How do we compare them right there?
I can definitely give you that information. That's also information that we do more with the principals and stuff too, so I can share that with you. I would say that Heartland, so demographically, I would say we are similar to other districts in our county. We really are. Our makeup is not much different.
But we benchmark ourselves against other districts that we use for probably ever since I've been on the board, we've talked about benchmarking in those districts, and there's a certain group of districts that we use.
Sure.
And again, I would just go back to this to say, why wouldn't we continue with those districts that we would benchmark against? I would hope that we'd be the first in the county. I'd like to see the other districts that we benchmark otherwise with to see how we compare them. Because I think that's a better read.
I had a question about how we're approaching the students that we're not seeing sufficient growth. That you mentioned that we would make use of individualized instruction and dig into some of the other data sources to figure out what's going on. But what does that mean in terms of what we're actually doing in the classroom for those students so we can try to improve their proficiency and performance?
So it's a great question. So I would say this is the focus that I'm trying to bring into the district more. So we've been focused more on proficiency and just how are we doing. And the growth is probably a newer piece, a newer discovery. So how do we do that? I would say the biggest way is through the Tier 1. The more support we can offer classroom teachers in understanding small group instruction, individual needs. So going back to the NWA is a great example. So it gives different developmental pieces for different students. So if I want to group students by this skill, I can create that group here. But for this activity, I might group them differently. So it's the training and learning that they do around that and kind of changing that instruction in the classroom. There's not like a fix. It's not like, okay, you have this, so I'm going to pull you out and I'm going to intervene always. It's not always about intervening. It's most of the stuff can be, 85% or more can be handled in a classroom.
That does, though, inform how we approach students that may need interventions and other supports in the classroom, right?
So MSTEP probably wouldn't be our go-to for that. So NWA and DIBBLES are probably two things that we would use to inform any type of intervention, DRA, things like that is what we would look for intervention. MSTEP's a tool, but remember it's an ending tool. So it's a piece that I don't want to discount completely, but it's a hard sell to staff that this is the one piece of data that we're going to use.
That's fair. Thank you.
Can you go to the next slide?
Yeah.
What,
That one?
yeah, what's your theory about this slide? Why is it like that?
So I have a few theories. So my biggest theory that we talked about last year is probably there's a gap of instruction somewhere. So we're either making up instruction that wasn't delivered. That would probably be my biggest guess. Or the students do have the instruction and we're repeating instruction that they already know.
So
Just guessing.
is this coming from Mulvey or is it leaving Scranton?
I don't know 100%. This would be 6 to 7. So this is their 6th grade percentile ranking to their 7th grade percentile ranking. So it would be a transition from 6 to 7. So 7th and 8th we no longer have because it's PSAT.
Okay.
So this is the first year we wouldn't have that. So my guess is it's a piece around there. So we're already exploring that. It's been conversations we started a little bit last year to kind of, we kind of already saw something happening that we're already working on now. So we're gonna bring together a math group to talk about this.
Okay.
So it's not bad, right? They are growing. It's just that bottom part that worries us. Other questions?
Thank you. While Liz wraps up, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Gavin Harris again, and Gavin will be talking a little bit about the ongoings at the bridge.
Yeah. Okay, so hello, my name is Gavin. I'm currently a senior at the Bridge. I'm also doing an EMT program at the Livingston County EMS. I want to start off by saying, wow, I can't believe we have already been like almost a month of school. The past month, the Bridge, our leadership group has been working hard with the Brighton High School's leadership class to plan some fun activities for Pink Week. Pink Week will take place September 30th and goes until October 3rd. On the 30th, we're planning to play our Pink Week promo video that we worked with the high school, and which includes some like interviews from cancer survivors. We'll also be starting our Teacher Pie Face Contest, which is where 2 of our teachers will go head to head to raise the most money, and the loser will get a pie in the face. We will also be starting our locker indoor contest, and then on Tuesday the 1st we will start our Coins for Cure, where Miss Stephen, our principal, will match the amount of money that we raise. We'll also start our care ribbons that will be sold at lunch. These ribbons will have a survivor's name on them and will be hung with the ribbons sold at the Brighton High School. On the 3rd, we will judge for the door and locker contest and announce the winners. Also announce which teacher gets pied. And then some of our leadership kids will also be tying pink ribbons with notes on the cars in the parking lot, just to kind of support the awareness. I'm excited for the other things that will happen at the Bridge, and I can't wait to share them all with you. Thank you for listening to me, and have a great night.
Gavin, it's always a pleasure having you, so we'll see you next month. And that's all we have tonight for superintendent.
Thank you. That will take us to for action. Item A is the regular meeting minutes for September 9th. We have a motion to approve the minutes. Moved by Dr. Krebs and supported by Mr. Trombley. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved 5-0. Item B, Neola policy update for policy 4217 on weapons.
Yeah, we talked about that last time in relation to our SRO officer at the middle school, and I've had 0 questions since, so we'd recommend you approve.
Do we have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Moved by Mr. Stahl and supported by Mr. Trombley. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that passes 5-0. Item C, new hire certified staff.
Yeah, I met with Nurse Clay about the second week of school. We've been monitoring all the kids in the district in relation to medical needs. We've had I'd say a spike in terms of some of our younger students that are dealing with, I'd say, significant medical needs. That's probably time to look at a second nurse. This particular nurse, Linda Barrett, has worked with us in the past on a part-time basis in terms of when we needed her to fill in. At this point, we want to take care of our kids, and so we feel it's it's that time to bring in a second nurse, at least for this year, till we see, what we need for next year. We evaluate this every single year when we see who shows up. So at this time, we'd recommend that you hire Linda Barrett as our second school nurse, and you can see the different buildings. Her and Wendy will pretty much split the district in half. This will give them both the opportunity not only to take care of our kids, but we're really looking forward to the additional trainings too that they'll both be able to provide. And we think that's going to go a long ways in helping the district continue to improve and be an even safer, better place to go. So now this wasn't in the original budget, but when we amend the budget, it'll be in there.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Moved by Dr. Krebs and supported by Ms. Mitchell. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that passes 5-0. And that will close for action and move us for future action. Item A, donation for the BAS pack of dogs program.
It's always fun to talk about the dogs, and tonight we have Karen Story here from Multimedia to talk about the latest donation. So, Karen, you're up.
Hi.
So I just wanted to come tonight because this one was near and dear to my heart, as all the donations are. But when you see like Brighton Ford, donation for 1,000, or whoever it may be, it's usually a local business that you guys all know. So I just wanted to share that we were at the receiving end of this donation. This summer I was working on, just writing some grants and just figuring out how can I, get to the end of this fundraising journey. So I came across Charlotte's Litter, and I just wanted to read to you, what Charlotte's Litter is all about, and just being able to make the connection with our own kids here in Brighton. So I'll make it really quick. So after, I'm just reading from their website and the letter they sent. After our daughter Charlotte died at Sandy Hook Elementary School, Joel and I did an amazing thing. We put our son on the bus and sent him to school on January 3rd of 2013, less than 3 weeks after the school shooting. It was amazing because our hearts wanted to never let him go, but our minds knew that we must trudge, crawl, and trample through our way into what used to be normal activities and part of our routine. Our son was grieving. His sister and most constant companion had been stolen from him, and there's no escaping this kind of loss, even for a second. On top of the overwhelming grief, he had to return to an environment that was forever changed. School no longer felt like a safe haven, and security and exit plans were in his constant thoughts. Concentration from schoolwork was nil, and the need to be alone and decompress were daily and sometimes hourly occurrences. When he arrived the first day in January, teams of dogs were there to greet him and other students. Soon he was coming home with the therapy dog trading cards and smiling as he shared special moments with each of these dogs. The grief and other baggage, of course, persisted, but somehow these dogs made school more bearable. By the end of the school year, he had made a special connection with the Boston Terrier. This special connection was mutual, and Kona became our son's protector and comforter when in his presence. To this day, Kona the therapy dog and her special owner continue to visit our son's school, making stops at the guidance office, other classrooms, and of course to see her boy. He feels safe, loved, and understood in this dog's little presence. So I just wanted to share, we received a $1,000 grant from Charlotte's Litter, so from the family. But as much as this horrible tragedy happened in Connecticut, our kids are also dealing with tragedies, staff. So I just wanted to share, just even today, we had a little girl that lost her father this summer. And, our counselor had called and said, hey, where's Duncan? We really need Duncan for one of our students. And, I just wanted you guys to know and understand, I appreciate all the support, and I can't tell you enough, approaching Dr. Gray back when he was hired in, I think, 2009. That was one of my first phone calls, hey, I've got this really great idea, what do you think? And he probably was thinking, oh, this lady's crazy. But, here we are, 2019, and we have 12 dogs, and our dogs really and truly, yeah, they may bark at times, they can be vocal, but They really and truly are making a difference with our students, and, you know, I welcome you all to come visit. We see it daily, like Mr. Brenner and I get to see it every day, but, you know, just feel free to stop by, but I wanted you to know that this is the story behind Charlotte's Litter, and, you know, here, you know, they're giving back to us as we're giving back to our own community, so that was it. Yeah.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. Item B is an F-350 pickup truck bid.
For the next two, I'm gonna have Mike do.
Okay.
At some point in the recent past, the district determined that it needed an additional pickup truck for the maintenance department. Some of it just for maintenance use, but also mostly for cleanup work on snow plowing days when the company has come through and already done the work. There's just a little bit of cleanup around sidewalks and things that maybe a little snow squalls come through in the last minute. So the district made the decision to put this out to bid. We did have a public bid opening on the 16th. You'll see in the bid tab we did have 4 bids that came in. We did open those up. We are looking to recommend the bid from Brighton Ford for future action. That's really all we have on that one.
Okay. Any questions? And how about the box truck bid?
Box truck, same thing. The district decided it needed a new box truck. It currently has one. It's starting to go, so it's time to put out for a new bid. We did put out a bid for a 12 to 14 foot box truck. We did receive several bids from multiple dealerships. At the current time, we're recommending the one from Brighton Ford, although it has come to our attention that the truck that they originally intended to provide to us is no longer available. So we will be monitoring that situation on whether they can come up with another truck at that price. If not, we will probably move on to the bid from Todd Wenzel Buick, which is another alternate bid, GMC 3500, which is an acceptable alternate. So we will let you know for the next meeting.
Thank you. Were both of those purchases in the budget? Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, that closes for future action and takes us to board committee reports and board vet bulletins. For the health policy and, or health safety and policy committee, we had our first meeting of the school year last week, and went through some policies that will be coming up for board review. Ms. Irvine went through some of the changes that we should make to HR related policies, so hopefully you can walk us through while they're important when they show up for future action. And we got a good overview of what is being planned in the health committee and the health advisory committee and the safety committee for the rest of the year. Ms. Bryce-Toner has a good plan for what we're going to tackle, with a continuing focus on making sure that we've got good supports for our students and our parents and the social and emotional health of our kids. And we'll be back on our regular once-a-month meeting schedule. Roger's not here, so I'll remind everybody that we have a finance committee meeting tomorrow. I don't know if he has had any change in plans there, but we're meeting 4:30 tomorrow here. All right.
Safe schools, we did discuss they're gonna have a lot of speakers that they have in the past, they're looking for OESA to help on that also. I'll list out to us soon. And the facilities committee meeting is set for October 1st at 6 o'clock. And I do have audit committee, Mr. Sean Lee approached me, he's an insurance agent in the city, and a mayor pro tem of the city. He's sponsoring the Peers program that's running tomorrow. It's about distracted driving. It's at the high school starting the second hour. Stop by and see it. It's a big program.
If you remember that was the contest we put in the grant for last year that we won. So they'll be there tomorrow. We've scheduled it for tomorrow. 2nd through 6th hour. It should be exciting.
Are you gonna do that?
Distracted driving? I try not to.
He does that every day.
we also have a board workshop scheduled on October 15th at 6:30 p.m.